What's up, everyone, and welcome to your week 4 recap of Love Island USA Season 8. This is a Down on the Island presentation of Down Once More pod. This is going to be the compilation of all my instant reaction videos from the week that I've been posting on YouTube every night of Love Island after I finish the episode. So my reactions are real, they're right in the moment. Sometimes I change it then after I watch the next episode, so you will see a roller coaster of thoughts. Thoughts earlier on in the week aren't necessarily representative of what happens at the end of the week. But this was Casa Amor week. We got a full week of Casa. This week was bookended by two of the best episodes of Love Island. Well, definitely the best two episodes of this season, and last Sunday's episode was one of the best episodes of Love Island I have seen with the Casa Amor revealing twist. So that's enough for me right now. Let's get right into my thoughts for the week. Okay, I feel like there's only one acceptable way to start this instant reaction video, and that's Casa, Casa, Casa. This is what the show fucking needed. These past couple weeks have been boring as hell. The IMDb ratings for each episode have been below 5, with the last couple episodes being like 2.7. I even titled my compilation of my week 3 reaction videos on the podcast, "We Need Casa Shakeups Bad." And then we got the first look preview this afternoon and saw that we were going to get the boys going to Casa when the girls thought it was the heart rate challenge and the girls were going to watch the new girls come in the heart rate challenge. Whoo, I have to give some credit to the producers. They've been dealing with some shit. They had one of the EPs died unexpectedly over there. And so with that to the side, the Islanders and the storylines, we've been repeating the same thing. It had been boring. When they announced that they were going to have tomorrow night's episode, one of the Casa episodes, in theaters, I said, why? Who needs that? With this crew, who is going to want to see that? And then, holy shit, this episode, this was the best episode of the season for me, hands down. And this was one of the best Casa shakeups and twists ever. So I'm gonna get into it. If you're just tuning in, welcome. What this is not is a full recap of the episode. This is my instant reactions as soon as I finish watching it, and I'm coming on here and giving you my vibes, my energy with that. And at the beginning of this episode, I don't even really want to touch on because it was the same shit. We had you had Anaya and Casey having the same argument about him wanting to explore Soul potentially. She's gone now, and then Anaya's not happy, and they're just going in that same fucking cycle. Casey's getting pissed. Corbin's misunderstanding Kenzie's conversation. He's getting pissed with her. Zach is acting all immature and jealous about Kata talking to Caleb. So he's pissed. So like all the couples are kind of pissed at each other, which is perfect going into Casa. And the way that we have had just everyone be so closed off, the way to drop a fucking bomb in that is make the girls watch the guys and their reactions to all the new girls coming in and dancing on them, making out. That's how you get people moving differently, because people have been saying none of these guys really seem like they're that locked down and committed. Like especially Zach lately, I think he just gives some kind of jealous, immature vibes. Casey and Anaya, their whole thing back and forth. Bryce and Trinity just seem comfortable. Bryce is still just kind of awkward and goofy as hell. He described himself as quirky here. Also, Trinity describing his dick as cute and saying that was the first white dick she's ever seen. You can't describe someone's penis as cute. Now I'm doubting all of Zach's like assessments. He said he had a snake. If he had a snake that he was working with, you're not describing that as cute. But anyways, I digress. But you have all the girls that are kind of like playing it safe, and everyone's safe in their couples. So you show them how the guys are reacting, how they're talking about the new girls. Corbin just straight up dropping like, "I'm bringing someone new home," was wild. And I fucking loved it, because now you had, and Anaya said it, like, nope. Now, and Melanie told Kenzie, like, no, you have to watch so you know what to do later. And Nia being like, nope, I can go 10 times harder. Two can play that game. Now we're going to have the girls unleashed and just ready to actually have chats and explore. And it is going to be wonderful. What I want, and I don't think it'll happen, but I want everyone to couple up with someone new. I want us to have 24 people in this fucking villa and production to then be scrambling about where the fuck are we going to have everyone sleep, because I could honestly see that happening. I could see everyone pick, like, all these guys, how they reacted. The only one that I'm like, there's a good chance he won't get turned is Bryce, just because Trinity's safe, but he's also been questioning that from like day one. And apparently, I didn't watch After Sun, but Soul made some comments about Bryce having more conversations with Kata than was shown, and thinking that Bryce was more attracted to Kata than Trinity, which kind of fucked up, but it may be true. Like, I don't take that as shade to Trinity. Trinity, I've said Trinity is one of my favorite Islanders on there right now, and very attractive. But man, these guys went hard with the new girls. And then after seeing the girls come in and do their dance, having the guys do their dances on the new girls was just awkward, and was mainly just the guys having an excuse to have the girls do more things on them. Like, they were having the girls sit on their lap and grind. I'm like, you're supposed to be the one doing the moves, which I think could play into it a little bit differently, because usually we have the heart rate challenge and it's with everyone that you're comfortable with. So you're okay being a little more goofy and joking around. So I feel like the guys usually put more effort into it than they did tonight. But I don't know. I loved this episode. I am also excited about the new girls. All of them seem like they are open and ready to go. Tiara just straight out calling out that she's into Casey in her intro video. And then her and Casey, the preview for tomorrow night, making out on the bed already. Alana seems a little bit reserved for the most part. And like, she is very selective in who she didn't like. She seemed like she was okay with Caleb, Bryce, and Zach, but the other three, not so much. We didn't see any of them dancing. We saw Corbin kiss her on like the head and say that she likes it a little bit more respectful, but it seems like she's very selective with that respectfulness, which I clocked and don't necessarily love. But we'll see what happens. Everyone else, I think and they released the schedule for it too, which they haven't done since week 1, of what each night's going to be. This entire week is Casa episodes. So we are getting more time in Casa. We are getting the preview for tomorrow night. We are getting 12 new guys for the girls. There are going to be options on top of options for these girls to explore. And after seeing what the guys did, I cannot wait. It is going to be epic. I'm so excited for this week now. Like, I had been out on this show because it was not doing it for me. This episode restored my faith. Like I said, this was the messy drama that I love this show for. So thank you. Thank you, producers. Thank you for hearing us and stepping up your game. Now, as part of it that maybe House of the Dragon is back tonight and they know they have to compete for that with streaming. Possibly. I prioritized Love Island and this reaction. Now I'm going to go watch House of the Dragon season 3 premiere and then put an instant reaction out for that. So we're getting all the podcast stuff tonight. I'm getting zero sleep. But I am like so amped up because this was the energy I needed. Then I did love the Pony and Toxic mashup during the dances with the new girls came in. I love the different mashups and covers that Love Island usually gives us, and there hadn't really been any this season that was hitting for me. That one was awesome. The biggest reveal after it was Kenzie, Kata, and Anaya were losing their shit. Mainly Kenzie and Kata. Anaya was just more like, you're going to see a different side of me that I haven't let out before. Now it's a whole new ball game. I'm going to turn it up, and I am excited to see that side of her. But then when like the new girls in Casa are like, we're going to chant and they're like Casa, Casa, Casa. And then Kenzie and Kate are like, we should yell fuck you. And then just running and just constantly yelling, fuck you, fuck you. And the new girls are just like looking at each other like, what the fuck? And then of course Kenzie did the splits after yelling fuck you 100 times for no goddamn reason, but just because she likes doing the splits. But also playing One Direction when Zach was doing his dance was fantastic and perfect. Zach and his little One Direction heart. Melanie said when they were talking about, because no guys were coming in, she's like, we shaved our whole cooters for this. That was funny. That made me laugh. And I I'm I'm debating how I feel about the guys not coming in until the next day, so the girls are just sitting with it for a night. I can't decide if I like that move or not. I think I do because it gives the girls another night to stew on everything that happened, the fact that they are by themselves right now and they are going to be antsy when these guys come in. I also think it helps like the girls having to go with 12 new guys to do the heart rate challenge, which they didn't actually do any heart rates, but you know what I mean. For them, that's a different ball game and a different vibe, so it could be a little bit harder for them. So I get them not putting them in that position either. So I don't know. I am very excited for this week. This sparked new life in the season that had been on kindling. It was dying. It was on embers, burning out. But my fire for Love Island has been reignited thanks to this episode. All right, this is a Down on the Island presentation of Down Once More, where I give you my instant reactions to the night's episode of Love Island USA. Tonight was season 8, episode 18, night 2 or day 2 of Casa. The girls technically first day of Casa, and I feared this last night with how hot they came in and how crazy the Casa twist was, that it was going to set the bar so high and they weren't going to be able to match it. And if this episode was a sign for what the rest of the week was going to be like, I am disappointed. I felt like tonight's episode was boring. I feel like we're back on that vein. I get it. You can't catch lightning in a bottle more than once. And last night's was wild, so they weren't going to live up to that. This was going to be new introductions and making new things happen. We pretty much, this entire episode was just in the villa. We didn't get much of what was going on at Casa. It looks like tomorrow nights will be more of a healthy mix. Part of me wonders, there's been some online things going on of some old things from Alana have resurfaced of using some racial slurs. And I clocked it in my review last night how she acted towards Corbin, Sincere, and Casey, that it gave me a weird feeling. And so it appears as though I unfortunately may have been right. So people are speculating that she's going to get removed from Casa. We've seen that before in situations where things have come to light of this nature. And so I think that's most likely going to be the case, which could be unfortunate for Zach, as Alana, at least in this episode, that's who he was focusing on the most, vibing with, even though she revealed she made out with Charlie. So his brother, I don't know. We also got this episode, Bryce really in his feels about Trinity, and seeing that cut with her vibing with Corey Moore, making out with him in the photo booth was just brutal to watch. Bryce is just, I keep going back and forth on Bryce so much. He's just so awkward and seems so uncomfortable. Like this is not the right show for him. Someone said it on, I think I saw a Threads post or something where someone said Bryce would have been better on something like Love is Blind. And I would probably tend to agree with that. He's just like more sweet and innocent and kind of awkward. So I don't know that his vibe is matching what's going on here. I was thinking, I told someone at work today when we were talking about it on a break that I think, unfortunately, Sincere will also stay loyal. I think Bryce is going to stay loyal to Trinity, and I fear that Sincere is also going to stay loyal. So I don't know. I'm trying to come up with my thoughts and reactions to this episode, but overall, I was just kind of disappointed. We, of course, got Kenzie doing her splits again. We had, when the new boys came in, I was so annoyed. We spent more time showing slow motion jumping into the pool and dancing and vibing than actual conversations with the new boys. And I don't know if the conversations just sucked that much or were so awkward. When Dylan was asking, "What's your turn ons?" and Carl was like, "Someone who's kind." And then he's like, "Well, yeah." And then, like, a big ass, too, right? That was cringy. The slow motion dancing was cringy. The guys got to make out with two girls of their choice. That seemed like everyone had a grand time with that. Anaya seems like she's really vibing with Carl, digging his kind of chill vibe, his kind of sincerity and more sophisticated vibe that he gives off. Now, granted, it's the first day, but she is seeming giddy and happy and enjoying herself right now. And good for that. Like, her and Casey and their back and forth and spiraling was starting to get kind of toxic the last few episodes. So, hope she has fun. It did. I thought them bringing in 12 boys, I'm like, it is going to get messy in the villa. They are going to be giving these girls all the opportunities to explore, but then for them to have to dump six of the boys night one after an afternoon of pool partying is, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of unfair to those six other guys that came in and even a little bit of the girls. Like, one day when they're chatting with everyone and you're trying to chat with 12 different people, you're not getting to see their personality much. And so you could find out you just picked a dud to stick in there with you, and there's maybe someone else you would have vibed with. The six Casa boys that we have there now are Carl, Che, Corey, Dylan, Gall, and Ronnie. So Trinity and Corey seem to be feeling it. Their flow seems more natural. We don't really know anything about these guys besides their name. When they were introduced and they had Ariana say their names and then they just awkward waved, and multiple guys who did like the two-handed wave. So awkward and so cringy. I don't know. I struggled with this episode. The highlight of the episode for me was in the morning before the boys came in, and Melanie was talking to the girls and talking about what they saw and saying sincere. They was grabbing all of their asses, and she said, "Your hands are almost in her butthole." And that made me laugh. I thought that was funny. That was the quote of the night. I unfortunately, as toxic as Melanie and Sincere are, and Melanie's done some shit that has pissed me off this season, I kind of like her when she's not with Sincere, and I think she is kind of funny. So I liked her early on in the season. It was just when the toxicity started that I started pulling away from her. But I she was funny this episode. I enjoyed her this episode. So we'll see what happens. Alana and Zach are vibing in Casa. Casey and Tierra are going hard with each other, making out all night in bed, making out on the little giant round bed in the spinny door room, whatever. We'll see what happens the rest of this week. This episode did not do it for me, especially after last night's episode. It was a letdown and a little bit bringing back to reality and Earth. Like, okay, last night was something special. We may not get there again this season. So I'm dealing with coming to that realization now. So we'll see. Drop down below your thoughts. Am I alone in thinking that this episode kind of sucked and was boring? I get that you're setting the stage, and so I'm hoping things pick up once people are getting more comfortable with everyone in Casa. I want to see more of the balance between the Casa and the Villa. I get why you didn't. It was, you had 12 new guys come in and the girls all getting to know them, but man, also, I don't know how this worked for people in the theaters who went to see that showing. It was advertised as a 2-hour thing. And I would be so pissed. They should have had last night be the episode that was in theaters. Because if I went to, after last night's episode, I was hyped the fuck up and went to theaters to watch this episode, I would be fucking irate and feel like I just wasted my time. And maybe that's why they had all the slow-mo, like, dancing pool party vibes. They were trying to make it more cinematic. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with that, but I don't know. Kind of pissed me off. Boring episode. Hopefully tomorrow redeems it. My guess is we'll see Alana for either all of tomorrow's episode or half of it. And then Thursday night's episode, it will start out with Alana has been removed from the villa or something like that. So we'll see. They never really address when they're removed and what they're for. They just say a quick thing in the voiceover and you don't see them again. So we'll see what happens. We're in season 8. We had episode 19 tonight. The second, technically the third Casa Day an episode, but we had basically the first night, Sunday, peak television. I think it will go down as one of the best Love Island Casa twists, or just Love Island twists in general. That was peak drama. One of my favorite episodes of Love Island that I have ever seen. At the end, how everything played out. And I'm someone who started on the UK Love Island, which I still think none of the USA seasons have cleared seasons 2 through 5 of Love Island UK, the original Love Island. But the past couple ones when Peacock's been taking it over have been better since like season 5, 6. And this season has been a snore. The Sunday's episode was one of the lone bright spots. Then last night's episode was a disappointment. I feel bad for everyone that paid like $20 to go see that and watch that in theaters. That episode was a dud, in my opinion. Tonight's episode, we're getting a little bit better. We had a challenge. You have that rivalry with Casa and Villa going head to head. I loved the new twist that they did where it was explicitly the couples going against each other and there was the meter that was raising. Do I think the meter was completely arbitrary and conveniently the Casa and Villa each won 3 challenges so that they had to do a tie, which was basically everyone have a fucking orgy in the middle? Absolutely. But I like that added like jab that's thrown in there of, you're competing directly against who you're coupled up with. I liked then they've done it before, but it reveals the name of who they were with that won that round. So then it starts eating at people in the back of their head. And usually you'll see that's when people start kind of missing their couple a little bit more and start questioning. Like we saw Zach. Zach was spiraling big time this episode. I think he is missing Kada. I think he has a very like kind of immature attachment style where he gets jealous, he pushes her away, he makes it about him, does the poor me thing. So I haven't been impressed with Zach lately. And so, yeah, he's still connected to Kada and he's got that jealousy that I think is eating at him a little bit more than just I'm here in Casa. It was then like not that he's not feeling his connection, which is probably good because come Thursday, his connection's not going to be there anymore. I almost 99.9% guarantee you Alana is getting dumped before Thursday's episode. They minimized her screen time this episode. It looked like she was blurred out in one of the first look previews. We didn't see like any chats with her and Zach. We just saw Zach saying he wasn't really feeling it and he was feeling Kada more. And then we did see them interact during the challenge, which the challenges, no one gave a fuck about what was showing. In the villa, the girls are taking off the guy's pants. Everyone's ass cheeks are out, all up in the air. Kenzie and Dylan must have gone fucking all in. They couldn't even show what they were nibbling on when she just put her ass right in his face. So there was nibbling on ass cheeks. There was sucking toes. My big takeaway from this episode is Trinity and Bryce. Last episode, we got Bryce last night kind of pining for Trinity and all sad and mopey and missing her. This episode, last night ended with it being cut between Bryce just really missing her and feeling like he doesn't have a connection with anyone except her and wishes he was with her. And cut with Trinity being in the photo booth, making out with Corey a little bit. And then tonight's episode, she was feeling guilty telling the other girls, and then she's crying about her connection with Bryce, and it brought in the very real thing that they have to deal with is some colorism and racism, and her just feeling like that other level of insecurity because when you're dating or seeing someone that is a different race than you and how that is perceived, and just that added layer of fear of rejection of them leaving you to go with someone that's more their usual type, or of the same race as them. And so that was a very like kind of nuanced conversation that I felt like was handled well and brought that to light. And they are making a solid case for being the best couple right now. And I don't think it's particularly close. And I also feel like they are being genuine. And that's the biggest thing. It doesn't feel like it's just a play or like they're playing a game or focusing on the story as much like Melanie and Sincere were. I personally, I think Sincere is going to go back solo. I do not think he's going to bring Amora with him. Melanie will see with Corey, but I think at the end of the day, she's just going to go back to Sincere like she did before. And so we'll see what happens there. I do think they just have a connection, as toxic as it may be, for each other. And that's what's going to be the strongest. And like 3 days getting to know someone else isn't going to shake that up. They're going to do their exploring and then they'll come together. It'll strengthen their story. Now they've both fully explored. Corbin, his conversation with Parmita at the beginning is the most animated I feel like I have seen Corbin this season, the most personality we have gotten out of him. There's the constant joke online is about Corbin GPT or him being AI, him being a robot. It's being made in the villa. Bryce and Zach both made comments about it. And I felt like this episode, we saw him in his chats with Parmita. He was more playful, joking around, seemed more animated, smiley. I like him with Parmita better. And Kenzie and Dylan is pretty much a guaranteed thing. Kenzie's fucking over Corbin, so that'll probably go. I do feel bad for Caleb. He has now lost out 2 times to Corbin in the battle of the girls with Kenzie and now Parmita. But I think him and Jaden seem to be vibing, and I think they'll hit it off and stay together because Jen and Gall are just lockstep. Gall, not attractive to me. I guess I don't know. I'm just gonna go down a whole rabbit hole there. I'm not gonna start saying which guys are attractive to me or not, because I'm definitely not gonna do that for women, because that's superficial and shallow, and I'm not gonna be judgy like that. But Casey talking when he talked to Tierra about going to sleep with Sydney that night, it was still like his awkward, like laughing, kind of like invalidating her feelings. Now, do I think she was being extreme and more than the stuff he was complaining about Anaya with? Absolutely. Like, she got emotional about it, which, hey, emotions, tensions are high. She's got a couple days to try to lock someone down if she wants to secure a spot on the show and be able to stay in Fiji having fun. But Casey just like, bruh, I know, like, it's not that serious. You're tripping. And her being like, I know you're not trying to argue with me right now. And I didn't feel like he was necessarily arguing at that point, but I don't know. But then him going back the next day, he's like, no, TT is who I really vibe with. She's who I really want. I enjoy. I I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Um, a highlight from the challenge for me that I thought was quite entertaining was when Zach and Alana, their like ball that they were doing the challenge for was Kiss, and Bryce is just yelling at Zach to take his shirt off during it constantly. So not beating those allegations. And then of course Bryce got the sucking challenge and was sucking on toes. Trinity making the comments about having to go up against the toe sucker, and then her sucking Ronnie's toes and the face she made. And she at that she's like, I sucked a toe. It was great. I loved it. I thought it was entertaining. But I don't know. It was a decent episode. They ended it the same way they ended it last night, with the two couples having conversations and connections there with Sincere and Amora chatting, and then Melanie and Corey chat. All right, Love Island USA season 8, episode 20, our final full day in Casa. And I gotta be honest, I feel like even though they did the postcard and the drops, not a ton happened this episode. So, if you're just joining in, what this is my instant reactions to the episode and my thoughts on it. It's not going to be a full recap. It's going to be a quick hitting what's on the top of my mind. So, a few things that I wanted to touch base on in general. First, they uploaded the wrong first look to the app. I got the notification about the first look on the app, went in to watch it, and it was the first look from Tuesday's episode, which fail there, but they had the proper one on Instagram and Facebook, so was able to watch it. And they did the postcards, and I think that was better than doing like the texting videos, because they got that whole video of the live heart rate challenge essentially, and the still images are a lot easier to take out of context, like the Melanie and Ronnie having the chat one that was going nowhere, and so that was all out of context for Sincere. I felt bad for Bryce with seeing the Trinity and Corey kissing in the photo booth, but you could tell I thought he handled it very maturely at the end when he was talking to Sincere. I am all Casa did was make me root for Bryce and Trinity more and dislike almost everyone else more. I do like Corbin with Parmita much better than I did with Kenzie. I think we're getting some more personality out of him. However, I still don't love him. Him and Casey's conversation just annoyed me, and kind of just like Corbin just straight up being like, nah, I haven't even thought of Kenzie once since I've been here. Like, bro, you were just like the day before you went to Casa was like, no, if you would have got those letters, if there was only one in there, it was going to be from me. And so it almost gives the vibes as he's been there, done that, and so he's discarding her, which I think is fucked up. I mean, Kenzie's over him too after seeing how giddy he was, but in this, she said she was kind of upset by it. Kenzie, this entire episode just kind of seemed performative for me, and I think seeing that she didn't really care as much and was all full in on the other guys, and now trying to go after Gald too, and saying like just having the, for lack of a better word and pun, the gall to say to Jen's face, who you could tell Gall is the only one that Jen is really interested in. She's trying to explore Ronnie a little bit now, but she was not happy when Gall said he wanted to have a conversation with Kenzie. And then she is acting a little bit immature about it when he got to bed, but she was not pleased about it. And then her and Kenzie having like a conversation, and Kenzie just talking about how great things are with Dylan, and she loves how affectionate he is and shows that he cares. But Gall is really her type, and she likes that surfer vibe, and always thought she'd have like surfer babies. Like, Kenzie just has no self awareness, and it's starting to annoy me even more than it did before. Like, her obliviousness and insistence to do the splits anytime and every time is a little bit entertaining now. It's just ridiculous. But I this episode, when like she got the postcard and she's like, girls, come here, but you are not gonna want to see this. And then how like her conversation about pushing Anaya and Kata, I'm not saying she was wrong and shouldn't have said those things, but it was weird to me. I do just have to say, someone that I work with went to high school with Dylan, and I do feel bad for her, because watching this play out on screen, and she straight up told me, she's like, it's kind of ruining my Love Island experience, because like I know them as a person, wasn't super close with him or anything like that, so I don't have any tea or fun stories there. But like he's had some of the most cringy lines since he's been in, with that first day when they were in, when he was talking and he's like, what's everyone's turn ons? And Carl's like, you know what, for me, I think kindness is a big one. And he's like, Yeah, it's great, but like a big ass too, and thought it's funny, and it was just so cringy. And then Tuesday's episode, having his conversation with Kenzie and talking about what her grandma name would be, and she said sugar. Well, not sugar, sugar. And she said that those were the names for her boobs, sugar and spice, and then her face was everything nice. And then he's like, yeah, well, I'm a visual learner. And she's like, oh my God, me too. Didn't really get what he was so transparently trying to do there. And he's like, yeah, well, like, I'm a visual learner. So can I see that again? Like, just to get her to push up her tits? Like, what are we doing? And then in the challenge, her taking his pants off. The girls were taking everybody's pants off in the villa. They were all about that life. And then this one looks like Kenzie and Dylan getting a little freaky in the sheets at night. That I think that would be hard for me to watch someone that I knew 75% naked on TV, or even just had an acquaintance. It would be so weird to see that. I used to work with a girl who ended up doing adult entertainment, and that was a bit of a culture shock, like in like Hustler and stuff like that. Not just, hey, it's COVID, I'm starting an OnlyFans. Anyway, I digress. Love Island. Other people that pissed me off this episode, the biggest loser of the episode to me was Casey. Casey royally pissed me off. I'd said the earlier episodes, I kind of liked him, not fully defending him, but saying I could see his point of view on some things, while also acknowledging the way he was handling it and treating Anaya not respectful. I'm fully done with him after the disrespect that he showed after seeing the postcard and saying that he was pissed about Anaya with the other guy with Carl and having her leg up, and saying that they're like, I think it was Caleb was like, but are you happy for her though? Because he's getting his freak on with TT and all about that, and joking with Corbin about how he's definitely taking TT back. He's definitely taking Parmita back, like all that stuff. And then he's like, no, I'm not happy for her, but I also don't give a fuck. And then him going on like, well, she's on a thin ass line, so she better be careful. And Sincere did try to call him out a little bit and be like, okay, but aren't you also on a thin ass line? And him having the fucking nerve to say that he thinks he has leeway because he spoke life into her every fucking day. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Saying that you're trying to take credit for breathing life into her. No, she had feelings and was upset at the way you had acted and were treating them. I ultimately think their personalities were too mismatched. Like, he likes to be a high energy, stuff like that. Anaya is more of a chill, take it slow type person. And what it clearly seemed like, Casey was just pissed because he felt like Anaya was moving faster with this guy than she did with him. So it was about the bruising to his ego, nothing about actual feelings, is what I got from that. So I'm on team fuck Casey, get him off the island now as well. So I'm joining the crew there. The postcards, it was painful seeing Bryce's face, seeing the Trinity kissing the guy in the photo booth, and like Kennedy, where the fuck did that come from? Trinity seemed a little bit upset at first about seeing the thing of Bryce sucking the toes, but she knows it was in the challenge. She was even making comments about it during the challenge. Zach being pissed about, more so pissed at himself, is what I got, about realizing that Kato was probably going to get a picture of him kissing outside the challenge, and the picture with Kato was her kissing during the challenge, which they knew about. And I do think that's, Sincere also pissed me off because he's being all kissing constantly and everything in bed, on the couches with Amora, and then his excuse when they're like, yeah, it seemed like things are going well, you're all touchy-feely, and he's like, well, I that's what I need to do. I have to be touchy-feely to really see if it works. Like, okay, bro, you're just trying to justify it. Whatever. I hope almost everyone has new couples. Alana officially has been dumped from the island. thanks to her racist comments that had resurfaced. And all they did was Alana has left Casa Amor. Just an aside after the night that opened the episode. So I don't know. I One thing that I feel like is true is something Titi said about Kenzie, where she said that Kenzie likes whoever likes Kenzie or whoever gives Kenzie attention. And I do think that's true. That's why Gaul was giving her some energy and she likes that. Kenzie likes being wanted and being the center of attention. And so I think that's what's happening. I hope she just focuses on Dylan. I feel like those two have more of a similar vibe. Jen really likes Gaul. I think they she was saying he's not as touchy feely with her. Maybe that's not good. Maybe Ronnie seems to be very open and he's saying all the right things now. It is so hard to tell if people are being genuine though, because they know, hey, if I don't get picked, I'm having to leave Fiji. So some people could just be saying what they need to say to get through it. And so I think Carl's sincere. I really like Carl. I like Carl and Anaya together. I think that Che, I think Che is sincere. I don't I don't know how I feel about Corey. I think that he's definitely knows the right things to say to Melanie, and he's making most of his approach about how he's better than sincere. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. The episode ended with like Kata and Anaya trying to get Melanie to kiss Corey and like pantomiming sex and stuff like that, just being goofy in the stairway and distracting. And the episode ended with like music playing. It's like, ooh, is Melanie gonna kiss Corey or not? I don't think she will. We'll see what's happened. Melanie, Anaya, and Kata all made a pact that they're gonna cuddle their guys and kiss them tonight in bed and give it a try. So we'll see how that plays out. And then tomorrow's night episode is the recoupling after Casa. So my predictions: Bryce will go back single, Zach will go back single, obviously. Um, I think Casey's gonna bring Tiara TT back with him. I think Caleb will bring Jaden. Obviously, Corbin's going to bring Parmita. I do not think Sincere will bring Amora. Uh, I think he will try to go back to Melanie. Sincere's been preaching about the story since the beginning, and he is now seeing more challenge from Bryce and Trinity. I think there are the aspects where Sincere's playing it like a game. Also, Sincere, we just have to call out. Tuesday's episode, he said epitome instead of epitome, which, hey, maybe someone who's just read it, which is fine. But this episode, he said something that people don't know is that he can do sign language, and it was actually his minor was teaching and learning sign language. However, when he started to show Amora his name, he said, I think this is an A. Not this is an A, it was I think this is an A. So I also think he's full of shit there. But we'll see. So I think the ones bringing in new people will be Caleb, Corbin, and Casey. I think the other three guys will stay and want to recouple. I think coming out of the villa, the girls coupling up, Kenzie, she might go Gaul, but I think she'll stick with Dylan. I think that Jen will go with Gaul. It depends on who goes first. If Kenzie pulls Gaul, then I think Jen will go with Ronnie. Uh, I don't know that Anaya will pull Carl. I hope she does, but the only ones that I feel like confident about are Kenzie and Jen, because Kenzie's completely over Corbin. It feels like Jen was single going into this, just like Caleb was. So I think those two will pull him. I don't know that Kata's gonna get there with Che. I I just don't see it. I like Che, and so I'm kind of disappointed in that. But I don't think she'll pull him. I don't think Anaya, like I said, that's like a 60-40 for me. I think 60% she'll stay with Casey, but I think she deserves better. Her, I don't get it. I'm obviously white. I don't know the things, but her focusing on um, Tiara's braids and the Filani braids. I don't know if that's a big thing. If that's something Casey had said he was into, I don't know. But she said multiple times, like, of course it's the bitch with the Filani braids, which seemed a little weird to me. But I don't know. I don't think Melanie will go with Corey because even her like talking heads where she's trying to make it seem like she's maybe into Corey seem like she's acting. It seems performative to me. Uh, I what girl am I forgetting? Oh, and Trinity's obviously not going to choose someone else. So Bryce and Trinity will be back together, and so all will be right in the world. So we'll see. Drop your predictions below in the comments on who you think will recouple, who you think will bring people in from Casa, and what all's going to go on there, and your thoughts on this episode. It's hard. Sunday night's episode was such a high, and then Monday and Tuesdays were a little bit of a letdown. Tuesday wasn't awful, I guess, and tonight's wasn't awful. It just felt like not much happened, really. So I don't know. All right, let's get into my reaction to Love Island USA Season 8, Episode 21, the Casa Amor recoupling episode. Casa Week has come to a close, and it closed out with one of the most fiery Casa recouplings that I can remember seeing. Usually we have one or two where there's some fireworks. This one felt like it was damn near every time. Even in the case of Melanie and Sincere, when they chose to recouple up with each other. So I don't know. I'm going to get into just my thoughts. This is not going to be a full recap on the episode. And so I'm not going to go in order. I'm going to start with the recoupling. That's what I just finished watching. At the end, I will tell you who I voted for, because this was one of the, I don't know that I've ever seen this vote before, where you vote for which Casa boy and girl you want to bring back to the villa after they were dumped. I think that may have been chosen after a certain event happened, but we will see. I'll reveal my votes at the end. I have locked in my votes. So the big recoupling, Ariana came in looking great. I always appreciate when the recoupling was about to start, and I'm like, we are barely half an hour into this hour and a half episode. Is there going to be more after the recoupling? What is going to happen? Well, as always, 5 minutes of that is spent on Ariana's entrance in, which good for her. Looked great tonight. But then, man, so many speeches, so much yelling. And I feel like the fuse was just lit and things are going to blow up even more the next couple episodes. I'm going to get into what I think is one of my biggest fundamental problems with the Casa recoupling. I I need to add a disclaimer because I feel like it's going to seem like I'm just going hard on the girls and like their feelings aren't valid. That is not what I'm saying at all. These girls have every right to feel frustrated, to feel disrespected by the guy's actions. Certain ones, especially the ones that they were coupled up with, if they felt like they were disrespected. That is fine. But what always ends up happening is if the guy chooses to recouple with a Casa person, they come in and everyone just fucking gangs up on them, which is awkward as hell for the Casa girl, who most of the time, I would say probably 90% of the time, the Casa girl's not talking shit on the girls from the villa. So it's not like she's bad mouthing them constantly. This season, I felt like there was a little bit more talking about like Kenzie, and that like that was mainly the focus on their shit talking a little bit, and it was pretty minor shit talking, and also something that I kind of agree with when they said that Kenzie seems to just go for whoever likes her, and she likes the attention, likes feeling wanted. People on threads, that's where I get my Love Island content after this, because I don't do that much social media, were mad at the Casa girls for going at Kenzie with about it. And I'm like, you all are saying the same thing in the comments, and then you're gonna get mad at the Casa girls for they're seeing the same thing you did, and then they're having conversations with these boys in person, so they know better than you do. But whatever. But the girls will always attack the guys if they choose to recouple with the Casa girl. And this season, especially, like this recoupling, they were all giving it to the guys that chose to recouple with someone else. Even Corbin, they went in on Corbin after Kenzie gave a whole speech on why Corbin was a piece of shit and how yada yada yada. Went on for probably about 5 minutes just shitting on him, which I don't like Corbin either, and I think he deserved most of it. But so then she chose Dylan and said she was happier. He's treated her better than Corbin ever did. It was way fucking better with him than Corbin. And then they all still fucking laid into Corbin when he came in with someone else. Now, was it disrespectful for him to be like, well, Kenzie's out the window, bro, when they were getting during the heart rate challenge? Yes. Like, that was stupid of him to say. Now, granted, they didn't know it was being live streamed, but still, kind of a shitty thing to say. So I get being hurt by that. However, I also think it is very disrespectful when you are saying how great of a connection and how much you appreciate everything that Dylan does and how much you really like Dylan. And then you 5 seconds later are telling Gall how you can't stop looking at him and you really like him and really want to explore him still, which Jen could be fucked because Gall is almost giving me the vibes that he's more into Kenzie than he is Jen. And Kenzie, I think, likes what's bright and shiny and new. And so now that Gall is there, because Jen chose to couple up with him, I think Kenzie is still going to have those conversations and explore it. So Dylan and Jen could end up being fucked. Maybe they should start talking to each other a little bit. But I don't know what's going to happen there. But everyone was laying into Corbin. And it kind of not pissed me off because, like I said, he deserved it a little bit. But all the girls were hyping Kenzie up when she was giving her speech about him. And I felt like, I don't know, if I'm one of those other guys sitting there and seeing how much they're laying into someone and the extreme that they are taking it, I that's kind of a turnoff for me. Like, I'm all for riding for your friends. But like when Corbin came in and then all the girls were booing him, that's immature as hell. And I felt bad for Parmita. Like, you really, yeah, dude, that's uncomfortable for a new girl coming in. And it is setting the stage for what we've seen all these other years. If any of the Casa girls come back, the original Villa girls, they ostracize them and push them to the side because they're pissed about it because it screwed over one of their friends, which I get how that's hard. I do, because you've built these bonds and connections over weeks a lot of the time. But man, you don't need to mean girl her. She did what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to come in, have conversations, try to build a connection, see if something's there. And then if it is, that's ultimately not on her. That's kind of a little bit like, this is not necessarily a bad example, but not necessarily a bad example, not necessarily a good example, but like when a husband chooses to cheat on their wife and then people will be mad at the girl that he's cheating on his wife with. Like, sure, she probably knew he was married and probably a fucked up decision that she shouldn't have done. However, ultimately, the guy is the piece of shit here, right? Like, he's the one making that decision. So don't attack the girl, which they weren't a ton with that. It just made her feel hella uncomfortable. And they were mainly attacking Corbin. However, they were not fully closed off. And Kenzie just recoupled with someone else and gave a whole long speech about how much of a piece of shit Corbin was. And immediately after saying Corbin was a piece of shit, said that she didn't disrespect him, which, whatever. We're getting in the weeds with how you're going to define that if you're going up there. But like, I don't know. I felt like it was rough. So that kind of set the stage and pissed me off a little bit. And then Melanie giving her whole speech about how Corey was the perfect guy and everything that she's wanted, and then choosing to stay coupled up with Sincere after everything she said. Like, I fucking called it in my last night review. I said that Sincere was going to stay loyal and Melanie was going to stay loyal because they were focused on the story, even though they're not happy and they are not good to each other, which was so apparent when Sincere came in. And then the first thing Melanie does is start fucking laying into him and chewing him out about he should deserved more, which she did, and how she doesn't know who Sincere is, which is fair because of how he acted. So you know those things, you are acknowledging those things, yet you were still the one who fucking chose to stay with him. Like, have some self-respect for yourself and realize you deserve better and you should have picked Corey. Now, do I know if Corey's moves were genuine? Absolutely not. Like, ultimately, these people who come in at Casa, their move is to try to build a connection so they can stay, right? So you're going to be doing all the right things. That's a lot easier to do all the right things in a 3-day time span versus a 3-week time span. There's going to be things that come up. However, Melanie does deserve better than Sincere and deserves to be treated better. And she's absolutely 100% correct and valid for not trusting Sincere. But you fucking know that and you chose to recouple up with him. So, like, it's like, okay, I get that those are valid conversations you need to have with him, but I don't know that you need to start laying into him at the fire pit so then everyone else piles on. But when Sincere came in, Ian Sterling, the gem that he is of the announcer and writing jokes for USA and UK at the same time and doing both shows, very impressive. Him saying, like, will Sincere return with a girl from Casa Amor and break Melanie's heart tonight, or will he do it later, was a fucking great line because it's so goddamn true. Like, Sincere and Melanie, if they last to the end, is because they're gonna try to focus on the stupid fucking story and because they're toxic together. Like, I, as much as people don't like Casey and TT right now, I'm more tempted, like, that's not the vote tonight, but I'd be more tempted to just get Melanie and Sincere the fuck out of that villa. Like, I don't know. Probably not really because of the fireworks later on, but I find it so frustrating and hard sometimes when the point of Love Island, I who fucking knows what the point is anymore. It's technically supposed to be to find love. It's also to win $100,000, and it's also to get some fame and brand deals online after it ends, right? But you're supposed to explore, and if you have a better connection, then that's what you should go for. I feel like saying, well, we had like a week together, sure, but sometimes you just know or you click with someone better and you know when something feels forced. Now, Corbin, all of a sudden he had problems once he got into Casa. I didn't feel like he had before. So like I said, a little bit fuck Corbin, but man, I just some of these girls' decisions just were wild to me. And I get it's hard. You have emotions, you have those connections. But then also when Zach was trying to not stand up for Sincere, but I mean, he was. And he's like, we would both look at the villa and be wondering and talk about like missing you. And then Kenzie just jumps in and fucking throws Zach under the bus for him saying that he's into blondes now during the heart rate challenge, which was a joke, a little immature. Absolutely. And I don't love Zach either. But then Kenzie trying to turn on him with that, I think still kind of pissed that he didn't want to stay with her when she was blonde. So she took that as a personal slight and a dig towards her ego that he wasn't into her as a blonde, but he was going to be into Jaden as a blonde. But I don't know. I'm all for it. Like I've said, I watched Love Island for the drama, and there was peak drama at the recoupling tonight. But I also hate the mob mentality sometimes, and I just felt bad for the Casa girls and everyone else sitting around the fire pit. It's so awkward and it's so uncomfortable. Same for the Casa boys who are there sitting there watching everything. That's just a little bit awkward. But Trinity and Bryce, So happy that they were reunited. Both of them wearing yellow was cute as hell. Both of them basically crying. So sweet. And Trinity and Bryce kissed, and then he has her like brown lip liner all over his lips. And he said, "Keep it on." Wife said it looked like he was a little kid that'd been eating chocolate and had on his face, which I thought was kind of funny. But I don't. I then felt awkward for the biggest one of the night that ended the recoupling was Anaya. And Anaya, another just similar to Melanie, giving these speeches on why the Casa guy was so much better and treated them so much nicer. And earlier in the episode, Anaya had told the girls that she'd never felt happier or more special. And then saying all these nice things about Carl and how great he was, but saying that she still couldn't stop thinking about Casey and choosing to stay loyal to Casey. And you could tell by all the guys' faces, which we already knew, Casey was going to come back in with Amora. Now, not Amora, Titi. I said in last night's episode, Casey was one that I could see a toss up. I saw it about 60-40 if he would choose to stay loyal. I was definitely leaning towards him coming back in with Titi, but we will see. But it got fucking heated. Everyone started going off at Casey, and he was trying to say his piece and saying that ultimately he said, "I didn't make this decision for Anaya, I made it for me," which kind of a shitty way to say it, but I get what he's saying. Like, you're there to find a connection for yourself. However, I can't defend Casey on everything after the bullshit he said last night about breathing life into Anaya every fucking day, and so why he should get leeway for his behavior. Like, fuck out of here with that. And then tonight, just the fact that he keeps honing in on well, no one picked me on day one. And so now I'm going to choose to focus on me. And him just focusing on no one picked him on day one. Yeah, bro, that's before anyone really knew you. And then after she got to know you, Anaya picked you every recoupling since then. And you picked her. So you can't just go back to being butthurt about day one. I get that's a shitty feeling, but since then, you are responsible for your choices. And so I just, I don't fucking know. I, like I said, Casey has just fallen. Casa just pushed him to the bottom of my list. I finally saw more apparently what other people had been seeing the earlier episodes, which I felt was like a yellow flag. These last couple of nights, full on red flag. Like, I'm ready for him to leave too. And then Trinity, like, this is where some of the ganging up came, and I don't like. I am all for defending your girl. Like, don't get me wrong, but then Trinity going into Casey about his comment about Bryce and Trinity, surprised they were one of the top ones or things like that, and then it turned into everyone yelling at Casey and him trying to talk and everyone yelling over him while he was trying to talk, and then TT starting to talk, and then people yelling at TT saying he's a grown man, let him talk, when they're not letting him talk. And then TT and Trinity both fiery going at each other. Trinity being like, "I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to him." She's like, "Well, I'm talking to you." And TT calling her a little girl. Like, I get that it's uncomfortable for the guys sitting around there, but most of the guys like giggling and laughing, which I get. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable. I felt like Bryce, not that he should have made Trendy stop, because whatever, she let her speak her piece. She's her own person. You don't control her. But he could have been like a little bit more comforting, like put his hand on her or whatever, because she was obviously getting attacked by TT and getting fired up. And maybe we didn't see some of it, but I felt like he could have not necessarily defended her, because she doesn't need him to speak for her. She had it herself, but just show that he was there for her instead of like whispering, him and Zach whispering back and forth behind her, probably about like just how crazy it is and awkward. But man, I'm torn. I think TT's kind of toxic too. Like, if I'm gonna call it Melanie and sincere, I have to call it that for how she acted when Casey was gonna sleep with Sydney that one night. And then some of this, like, I get cool that you're trying to defend him. However, you don't owe anyone an explanation. They are mad at Casey for his actions. I get you're wanting to defend him, but sometimes you do just need to shut up. Like, they weren't mad at you. Now they're all going to be mad at you, and you've got five, well, how many? Four? No, there's six, stupid Matt. Six enemies in that villa, essentially. So I hope they can squash the beef. Like, it got so intense that it ended with Ariana reminding them, like, hey, I know dating can be difficult, but try to be kind to each other as you're trying to figure all of this out. Like, he's trying to keep things from blowing the fuck up and coming to blows. Like, I thought it was going to get physical there for a while, but I don't know. It was a wild recoupling. I can't wait to see the aftermath of it on Sunday. I just, that's the main stuff from the episode, just because everything else, there was more things that just, like Corey and Melanie building their connection, Melanie asking him to kiss, Melanie liking like the picnic that he did, everything that was kind of feeding into the recoupling, and just pissed me off. I still think sometimes Melanie is performative as hell too. Like, you just chose to recouple with Sincere, and I get those are issues you want to address. You probably could have done it in a conversation after the recoupling instead of making everyone else uncomfortable as hell. There's probably a little bit of it that wanted her girls back up and them chiming in like they did, but I don't. But the performative part, when Trinity got the text and Melanie is just like, no, no, hold my hand to Anaya, like, you knew what was happening. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So I don't know. I just I'm so sad for Anaya. I'm so happy for Bryce and Trinity. And I'm so tired of the Melanie and Sincere merry-go-round bullshit. So we'll see what happens with it. Everyone was happy for Caleb for bringing in Jaden, so yay, that's good. But this is when it gets clicky because you got the Casa girls and the Villa girls. Villa girls are mad at the Casa girls. Kenzie will probably befriend Jaden because she likes to befriend her fellow blondes. So we will see. And then she'll try to steal her man. So we'll see what happens. So those are my thoughts on tonight's episode of fiery recoupling. And I said I'd reveal my votes. Obviously, I'm voting to bring Carl back. I loved Carl. I thought Carl and Anaya were really good together. He was a lot more her speed than Casey was. So much better for her and more of what she deserves. Like him when he saw Anaya like crying, and I felt like it was genuine. Maybe I'm wrong, but he seemed like he was gonna cry, and then trying to like mouth or like say to her quietly that it was gonna be okay. She was okay. Was so sweet and heartbreaking to see. So yeah, I'm voting to bring Carl back to the villa. The girls though, I almost just didn't vote because I don't really care about bringing Amora or Sydney in. I did vote Amora just because whatever. If Sincere and Melanie are going to be their merry-go-round toxicity, let's throw more gas on that fire. Let's have it be something new to get mad about. So we'll see what happens there. Let me know who you voted for down below. If you got your predictions right on the recoupling, I was pretty spot on with what I said. Casey was the one that was the toss up for me, and I was right there. So we'll see. I figured Melanie wouldn't. I figured Kata wouldn't. I was hoping Anaya would, but obviously she didn't. So we will see what happens. All right, so that's going to do it for week 4. I am very intrigued and excited to see what week 5 is going to bring. With the vote, I think pretty unanimously people are voting for Carl to send him in, but there was some feedback on my last video, my instant reaction from Friday night's episode, to people saying, don't send Carl in, Anaya needs to go home. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily love all of Anaya's moves, but I really like Carl. I liked them together. Send Carl in, send Amora in to shake things up. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get those results and that will play out on Sunday's episode or if we'll have to wait till Monday's episode. I will be intrigued to see that. Let me know what you thought of this week overall and where this week of Casa ranked with the other Casa weeks we've gotten in previous seasons. So, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this compilation episode. If you want to get my instant reactions right away, go subscribe to Down Once More Pod on YouTube. That's where those drop. Turn on notifications so you find out as soon as that episode is uploaded and posted. The time varies depending on when I get to watch that episode and how long it takes me to record and edit, how many thoughts I have. We've had some 5-minute episodes, we've had some 20-minute episodes. So it's all over the board, but hopefully you're enjoying it. Throw a like on the video, a comment if you do, share it with someone you know who's also just sucked into the world of Love Island right now. And if you need something different, I'm also doing House of the Dragon instant reactions on Sunday nights. So Sunday nights are brutal for me right now. And then regular podcast episodes every Wednesday. So I reviewed Mamma Mia with my friend Sage last week. This coming up week, I'm going to be doing what's coming to streaming and theaters in July. So you can tune into that if you're looking for something new to watch once Love Island finishes mid-July usually. So thank you all for supporting it. Thank you for coming down on the island with me. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.